Okay, so real quick, we're running out of time, but we got to talk about Charles West.
Right.
He got shot in the arm, and in his hometown. Apparently, he got in a fight with someone. The guy came back with a gun,
right,
and shot at him, and ended up hitting him in the arm.
And look, we're equal opportunity offenders.
Definitely.
First we went with the Seminoles, then we said, Ute fans, don't get on your high horse. And now it's time to remind BYU fans that they are also 18-year-old kids down at BYU.
Right.
And look, I'm not blaming the victim because he did get shot, but he was in a fight earlier with this guy. He has a lot to lose.
Sure.
The person who shot him obviously does not.
Right.
Because you don't do that sort of thing unless you're a psychopath and have a lot to lose.
That's right.
But needless to say, I mean, this is concerning, right? I mean, he is the headliner of BYU's incoming class.
That's a big get, right?
Right. And he was arrested shortly after signing back in February, and now he's getting in fights in the morning, playing basketball at night, and getting shot at. It will be interesting to see, needless to say, how he adjusts to life in Provo. I hope for his sake, as well as the BYU Cougars football team, the Bronco and the guys down there can get him in, coach him up, and, teach him the culture that I admire about BYU.
Right.
And that is that there's a certain standard we live by, and one of them is we don't get into fights a lot.
I hope, a good friend of the show, he's been on the show before, Matt Quinney, he had a post about this story on Facebook, and a lot of the responses were like, well, he needs BYU. He really needs BYU. And while that's true, I just think he needs some discipline. And I think he needs a structured environment. I do think BYU can be good for him. I don't know if he needs BYU, but I do think it'll be good for him. I also think it's going to be very difficult for him.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that because of the color of his skin or where he grew up. I think anyone who is not of the LDS faith living in Utah, honestly, will have a difficult time going to BYU and living by that standard. That said, a lot of people do it. A lot of players have done it, and a lot of players have succeeded. There have been some stories of players who haven't been so lucky, though.
I mean, Jamal Williams.
Right.
Jamal Williams. He's the most recent, at least in my mind, standout
and
who came
honestly,
in for that reason.
I think that is kind of the model, and I think to Bronco's credit, I think you see Jamal Williams and what he's been able to do for that program and the way he's been able to fit into that community. And I think that's the model.
Right.
That is the model. However you did it with him, that's the model going forward. And I think that's why he's able to want to take a chance on a guy like Charles West.
And also, I mean, even though Jamal Williams has been great for the program, realize that some of these guys are going to have hiccups.
Sure. It's going to happen.
And he's had his, and Charles West might have his.
And honestly, that's part of – I honestly think BYU's got to go through some growing pains here too. I really believe that. I think they've got to adjust to the modern age, if you will, where you got to understand these kids are young. They're going to make mistakes. And it's up to you if you want to just live totally by the honor code and that's it. In the past, they haven't done that, and they have done that. So it's totally up, how they handle it is how they handle it. But I think they have got to come into the modern era a little bit and say, you know what? We got to understand kids are going to be kids, and kids are different now than they were in the 50s. And we need to understand that we need to give a little leeway. That would be then again, I'm not of the BYU culture. So,
but does that mean there aren't repercussions? Because I mean,
absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Have to be repercussions. Absolutely. Yeah. If it sounded like I was just saying let them off the hook, no.
Okay.
Have to be repercussions. I don't think it necessarily on the first offense has to be you're done.
Oh,
you're
no.
off the team.
I mean, depending on what the offense is,
obviously,
right? Yeah,
obviously.
But I mean, I think when we're talking about Jamal Williams, his situation last year was dealt with pretty appropriately.
I think so. I think they handled it very, very well, and
right.
I think he was remorseful, and I think he's a better person for it because he was given that second chance and he wasn't just written off.
Right.
I think it's important.
And so this is the point in the show where BYU fans recognize, hopefully, that the work they've done with Jamal Williams is starting to pay dividends in Texas and other states.
Yep.
But you also have to understand that some of these guys who aren't of the faith coming in to BYU, leaving their hometown, coming to Provo, might have a little culture shock.